The MLB trade deadline finished up yesterday, and as with every trade deadline, there's going to be a lot of winners, but unfortunately, that does mean there has to be some losers as well. So today we're going to be going over my picks for the biggest losers of the trade deadline. I wonder what team's going to be involved in these. Let's get right into it right after this. What is up, YouTube? It is your boy NMR Sports here, coming back at you with another MLB trade deadline video, and today we're going over the biggest losers of the MLB trade deadline. Before we get into the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. We post daily MLB content and MLB watch parties, all sorts of things. So if you like baseball, this is a place to be. Hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. Without further ado, let's get into the video and start talking about the biggest losers of the trade deadline. So when talking about the biggest losers of the trade deadline, it is not necessarily what these teams did to make themselves losers. A lot of them, it's what they didn't do. And that's what we're going to talk about in our first team, and that is the Chicago Cubs. Now, the Chicago Cubs made some very good moves. They traded Scott Efros to the Yankees. They traded Michael Givens to the Mets, and they got pretty good returns for these guys, but they have a very good catcher, possibly the best catcher in baseball right now, who's going to be a free agent at the end of the season, Willson Contreras, and they did not trade him. As you can see here, Willson Contreras is going to be an unrestricted free agent in the 2023 season, which means this offseason, and you got to get something back for him. You know he's going to walk. I mean, I guess there's a small chance you re-sign him and he stays in Chicago, but they're in the middle of a rebuild right now. I understand I really don't know what's going on with the Cubs there. They also didn't trade Ian Happ, which is a little surprising for me. This one's a little less surprising because he's not a free agent after this year, at least. He has 1 year left of arbitration, so he's going to be a Cub next season. But Willson Contreras, man, I don't know why you wouldn't get the most value for him now. And even if you traded him now for a rental, you could re-sign him in the offseason if that's really your plan. I understand that you want him to remain loyal or whatever, but I don't know, man. I really think they should have traded him this trade deadline, and if they really want to re-sign him, they could have done that this offseason coming up. Next up, we got another team that wasn't super active at the trade deadline. This one, I'm not even going to talk about that much because they're not really a loser. They're such a good team. They didn't really need to do anything big at the trade deadline, but I did want to talk about the Los Angeles Dodgers. So the Dodgers, pretty much the only splash move they made was acquiring Joey Gallo from the New York Yankees, and as you can see by his baseball savant status, he hits the ball hard sometimes. He doesn't walk a lot, he does walk a lot, but he also strikes out a ton. He doesn't get on base. He swings and misses a lot. He's pretty good defensively. I don't know. Hopefully he's better in LA than he was in New York. I feel bad for the guy. The guy wanted to be in pinstripes, but he couldn't seem to figure it out in New York. He was really good in Texas when he was out there, so hopefully he can turn around with the Dodgers. But this being their only, really noteworthy move, I know they acquired Chris Martin from the Cubs as well. I just feel like they needed to do a little more. I don't know if they needed to do a little more, but the Dodgers know what it's like to lose in the postseason, so I feel like they should have added a little bit more depth. Teams like last year, we saw the Atlanta Braves added a lot of outfield depth when we thought they were a fairly complete team, and that outfield depth ended up getting them deeper into the postseason and eventually a World Series. So I was surprised the Dodgers didn't go out and get a guy like Brandon Drury, who ended up going to the Padres, or Josh Bell would have been a pretty good fit over there, or maybe some extra outfield depth. I don't know. It's just kind of curious why they didn't add any more or get any, not necessarily splash names. I guess I thought Luis Castillo might end up there or Juan Soto, but overall I'm a little surprised that the Dodgers didn't do more. So I'm going to consider them a very small, I don't even know if I want to call them a loser, but this is a video about losers, so I'd say they lost the trade deadline. Yes, I would say that. Next up, we got a team that I have no idea what this team's doing. I just don't know. I don't know what to do. It's the Boston Red Sox, man. I don't know. They sold, but they bought, but they didn't sell their big pieces. I have no idea what's going on. Let's just talk about the pieces that they did get. First, we got Eric Hosmer, who they acquired from the San Diego Padres. He's hit the ball fairly hard this year, but other than that, he's been pretty mediocre in just about everything. Except for strikeouts. He doesn't strike out a ton, which is kind of nice. He might do pretty well with that pesky pole over there, but right field is pretty deep, so it's not really a left-handed hitter-friendly ballpark. Alex Verdugo struggled a lot this year. I believe he has the most robbed home runs by the ballpark. So like his expected home runs versus actual home runs because of Fenway Park. So Eric Hosmer might have some struggles there. I really don't like the fit. And the other move they made was for Tommy Pham from the Cincinnati Reds. I just don't go. I don't get it. They traded away Christian Vasquez. They traded away Jake Diekman. They brought back Tommy Pham, Eric Hosmer, and Reese McGuire, who is worse than Christian Vasquez. I legitimately can. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. Can somebody explain this to me in the comments? What the hell the Red Sox did? It just, none of this makes sense. They might as well have just not made any moves if they were going to do this. I don't get it, man. I cannot stress this enough. I have no idea what the Red Sox are doing. One of the biggest losers of the trade deadline, without a doubt. I just can't believe they didn't trade Xander Bogaerts or JD Martinez. Okay, I'm done ranting about the Red Sox. We can rant about it more in the comment section. I don't even know, man. Okay, next one I got for you guys. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but it's kind of a hot take, and that is the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, the Milwaukee Brewers got a very, very, very impressive haul back for Josh Hader, and I think that is a very good trade. It got them some good prospects. Taylor Rogers isn't that bad. He's not great, but he's not awful. I like Dinelson Lamet, and I think Dinelson Lamet could be very, very good in the Brewers system. They've done very good work with pitchers in the past. My problem is that they just refuse to get big bats in Milwaukee. I don't get it. They absolutely refuse to add depth offensively, and it pisses me off, man. Get some bats if you want to go deep in the postseason. The pitching is good. The bullpen's phenomenal. They made some big bullpen moves, even though Josh Hader left. Obviously, that's a big blow. But they did make some good bullpen moves. They also got Trevor Rosenthal, I believe, and Matt Bush from the Rangers. And I don't get why they refused to get any big bats. There were some big bats available. Josh Bell would have been a great fit. Like I said with another team, I think the Dodgers would have been a great fit with the Brewers. Trey Mancini would have been a good fit here. Wilson Contreras, Ian Happ. I know those are in division, but still, there were a lot of bats out there that I think could have benefited this squad in Milwaukee, and they just refuse to do anything offensively. And it's going to be the same story as it was last year, where they're just not going to score any runs. They're trying to win games -1-0, and that's just not how you win baseball games. You got to hit the ball. And the Brewers, they've hit a little bit better than I expected to this year, but I still feel like their lineup is just going to get absolutely shut down in the postseason when they're facing great pitching every single day. So the Brewers, pretty solid loser in my opinion of this trade deadline. Let me know if you guys disagree. I feel like that's kind of a hot take. Next up, we've got a massive loser, like the biggest L. Just throw the L's out here, and that is the Chicago White Sox, man. The Chicago White Sox, I feel like, needed to make some moves this trade deadline. They've underperformed all year long. They only got one pitcher, and that's Jake Diekman here. I'll move myself on the screen so you can see his baseball savant numbers. But basically, he's been okay for the Red Sox this season. 4.23 ERA this year, 51 strikeouts and 38 innings pitched. He's been great against lefties. He has one save opportunity that he's converted. I just feel like they really needed to get more done. They were rumored to be in on Frankie Montas. They were rumored to be in on Luis Castillo. But it's really hard to make trades when you don't have a good farm system. And the White Sox do not have a good farm system. They didn't have prospects to give up. A lot of their major league talent they weren't willing to part with. Guys like Andrew Vaughn, guys like Yohan Moncada, guys like Jake Berger. Like I felt like they weren't willing to part with most of these guys, and that's not going to cut it when you're at the trade deadline and you need to improve your team. So right now, I would definitely consider the Twins the favorite to win this division with how well they added to their bullpen at the deadline, while the White Sox feels like they didn't do anything. They still got a lot of talent, don't get me wrong, but I feel like they had a really bad trade deadline. They should have added to this team, and they just got one formerly elite relief pitcher who has been mediocre. Mid would be a good word to describe Jake Diekman this year, and that's all they did at the trade deadline. So really bad trade deadline for the White Sox. I'm gonna give them a big fat L on this one. All right, let's get it over with. I'm wearing the Angels hat. I'm roasting all these other teams. You're probably screaming at your monitor, what about the Angels? Talk about the Angels. I'm gonna talk about the damn Angels. Angels are without a doubt one of the most solid losers of this trade deadline. The Angels just don't know how to sell. I just don't get it. They should have traded Ohtani. They could have got a massive haul, a Juan Soto-esque haul for Shohei Ohtani. They did not decide to do that. I honestly thought they weren't going to trade Noah Syndergaard for a minute. They ended up trading Brandon Marsh, which was pretty interesting. A young guy with 6 years of Major League control right now, and they traded him to the Phillies. They did get back their current #1 prospect. So they get back Logan O'Hoppe, and I just wanted to show you guys this. Pretty exciting. Pretty exciting. Let's go to the top 100. Let's search Angels. We have a top 100 prospect. We have a top 100 prospect. They said it couldn't be done. They said it couldn't be done, but the Angels now have a top 100 prospect. Pretty exciting if you ask me. But in all seriousness, we got Logan O'Hoppe. He's our #1 prospect because our farm system's awful. Outside of that, we acquired Tucker Davidson, who is currently our 11th ranked prospect in our system. That is not saying much. Don't get too excited. Jesse Chavez, who I honestly think we might just designate for assignment. I don't know if he's going to pitch in an Angels uniform again. Mickey Moniak, former #1 overall pick with the Phillies, but he's been labeled a bust, and I honestly kind of agree with that. But I assume we'll give him a shot since we have a roster spot clear from Brandon Marsh being dealt. Jadiel Sanchez? I do not know how to pronounce this guy's name, but he is our current number 29th ranked prospect. We got him in the deal with the Phillies as well. And then that's it for Raisel Iglesias, Noah Syndergaard, and Brandon Marsh. The only guy I like in any of these deals, I'll be honest, I don't know if I like any of the other prospects that we got. The only guy I have a little bit of faith in is Logan O'Hoppe. These are his current numbers below me in Double-A. You can see he's batting .275 with a .392 on base, which is pretty impressive. .888 OPS. I'll be honest, .888 OPS at Double-A does not excite me too much. He's 22 years old, so he still has a little bit of time to develop, but I don't know, man. .888 OPS at Double-A is going to transfer to below replacement level at the Major League level. Hopefully he continues to develop and can turn into, this guy who had a .943 OPS in rookie ball. We will just have to wait and see. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of faith in the Angels developing him into an elite catcher or anything. So only time will tell how good or how bad the Brandon Marsh trade worked out. Other than that, the Syndergaard trade, it's a rental. What are you going to get from a rental? You'll get a top 30 prospect in your system and a former washed up #1 overall pick. I am kind of curious why they didn't group the Brandon Marsh trade and the Noah Syndergaard trade together. I feel like if you had to use them as a package, you possibly could have gotten a better prospect. I know a lot of Angels fans were calling for us to trade for Alec Boehm. I don't know if that was ever on the table, but I would have been willing to throw in a little bit more to get an established guy like Alec Boehm in our lineup who would have added to our depth greatly. And then last but not least, I want to bring up another team that didn't necessarily do anything wrong. They just didn't do enough, in my opinion. That is the New York Mets. The New York Mets have a pretty big, honestly, I just feel like their lineup is just not very deep. They got some good sluggers in their lineup. Pete Alonso's pretty great. Starling Marte's pretty great. Francisco Lindor's great. Mark Canha's great. But depth is what gets you through a postseason run. I always bring up the Atlanta Braves last year. The best thing they had going for themselves was their depth was great. The 2020 Dodgers were a very deep team. The 2019 Nationals were a very deep team. All of these teams that you see winning the World Series have one thing in common, and that is usually that they have good depth, unless they, by some miracle, can stay 100% healthy and play every single day, day in and day out in the postseason. So we all know that the Mets have a great pitching rotation with DeGrom and Scherzer when they're fully healthy, but outside of this, man, I don't know. This lineup's good. I don't think this is a World Series caliber lineup. We saw it with DeGrom today. He pitched against the depleted Washington Nationals and could not get any run support whatsoever. The bullpen came in and blew it. So you can see the lineup as itself looks pretty damn good, but the only piece they really added that I really like is Darren Roof. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Eduardo Escobar is not too bad. They have an okay team. I just feel like they could have used another big bat or two. A Juan Soto would have been fantastic in this lineup, but he'd be good in every single lineup. So I don't really know. I just expected a little bit more more out of them. Maybe also acquiring some bullpen help as well. We all know Edwin Diaz has been dominant. They did get Michael Givens from the Cubs, so I think that's going to be a pretty good addition. But I would like to see them go out and get somebody like David Roberts, who has been a great closer over in Chicago this year. Michael Fulmer would have been a pretty solid depth piece. Jorge Lopez would have been fantastic. Or hey, Josh Hader, if he was available. I don't know if he'd want to be a setup man, but anyways, I would like to see the Mets do a little bit more. Kind of like the Dodgers, I'm going to hand them a small L because at least they did something. But overall, I don't feel like they did enough. So let me know down in the comments if you agree with my picks for the biggest losers of the MLB trade deadline. I would like to give an honorable mention to the Colorado Rockies for being the most inept organization in all of baseball, which is really nice for me. It makes me feel better as an Angels fan that no matter how poverty my franchise gets, at least we're not the Rockies. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to leave a like on the video and let me know in the comments how your team did at the MLB trade deadline. Don't forget to subscribe for more daily MLB content. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Y'all have a great rest of your day.